Hello everybody! Today we are going to talk about the angled versus arched patterns in conducting. This video will not only explain what the angled and arched patterns are, but we will also discuss the 2-4, the 3-4, and the 4-4 patterns for both of them. So let's get started. The trick to a good angled pattern is to establish your action point. Sometimes this is called the ictus, but we will call it the action point because we want to have intent when we go to the point. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and stand up. We're going to practice together. We are going to practice lifting and dropping our wrists together and creating angles. No patterns yet, just lifting and dropping. Lift, drop, lift, drop, lift, drop, lift, drop. Now that you have the hang of it, we're going to add another angle. So, this time, when you lift and drop, let's lift, drop up and down, and then lift, drop to the right and back to our action point. Again with me, lift, drop, right, drop, lift, drop, right, drop. Now we're going to go over patterns. Conveniently, the last thing we just did was actually a 2-4 pattern. This time we're going to do it again, but with a metronome at 60 beats per minute. Go ahead and pause the video and practice that on your own. Moving on, now we're going to do the 3-4 pattern. Watch me closely because this one is a little bit different than the 2-4. This time, instead of going to the right first, we're going to go to the left. Watch me closely. Left, right, up. Left, right, up. Let's practice that with a metronome. Last but not least is the 4-4 angled pattern. With the 4-4 pattern, we are going to go up from our action point to the left, to the right, and then back up. So again, at a slow tempo, up, left, right, up, left, right, up. Let's try that with a metronome. Congrats! You learned the 2, 3, and 4 angled patterns for conducting. Let's talk about some tips and tricks to use when you're practicing these patterns. We want to make sure that we create a good foundation for our conducting, so we have to start slow and basic. Just like we did at the beginning of the video, a good exercise is to just practice moving in the different angles in the different directions on your own, very slowly. Something else that you can do is grab a surface that is the same height as your action point. Right here I have my kitchen table and I grabbed a coaster to mark the point that I want to hit every time. This way I know that my angles look like angles. For the next portion of the video, we will go over the arched pattern, but I recommend pausing the video and practicing angled patterns before you move on. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your break of practicing, and now we're going to move on to arched patterns. So a quick review before we get started on our arched patterns. There are 2 types of music, rhythmic and expansive music. With our rhythmic music, we want to make sure that we're showing our angled patterns, and then of course with our expansive music, we want to make sure we're expanding the patterns and showing arches. Similar to how we practiced our angled patterns in the beginning of the video, we are going to do the same thing with arch patterns, except we're only practicing the arch part of it. A great way to practice this is to find an object laying around in your room or in your house and create arches over it with your right hand. Here I have my Starbucks coffee cup from this morning, and I'm going to show you what I mean by creating arches. When you're doing this exercise, remember to start slow and build a great foundation for your future self. Take more time in the speed and the space of your arches. Before moving on to arched patterns, it's important to know that when you have an action point in an arched pattern, you're expanding it, hence why we use arched patterns in expansive music. Here, I'm going to show you the 2-4 arched pattern. Like the angled pattern, you will go out and up for the arched pattern. Let's try that with the metronome. Another way to think about the 2-4 pattern is it's like you're drawing a J with your hand. Moving on, we'll go to the 3-4 pattern, which is, again, a little bit different. Just like our angled pattern, our beat 2 will go to our right. So, we'll go up, out, and back up, out, and back up. And now we're going to try it with the metronome. And our last pattern for this video, the 4-4 arched pattern. For our 4-4 pattern, we will go up, create an arch to the left, go to the right, create a loop, and go back up and have a strong rebound for 1. A few more times with a met. Hooray! You now know the angled and arched patterns for your future conducting experiences. Once you feel like you've mastered these patterns with just your hand, then you can add your baton. Remember, the baton is the extension of the hand, so if you're doing something wrong with your technique with just your hand, it will show in your baton. Something else that you can do to practice these patterns in the future and grow as a musician and conductor is to imagine what kind of music you're going to conduct. For example, if you're conducting something with a strong rhythmic pulse, you're going to want to use the angled pattern. Let's say that it's at a fortissimo level. This is what it would look like. Now let's do the same thing, strong rhythmic pulse, but at a pianissimo level. See the difference? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Here's my email, here's my phone number. See you guys next time.